From the dawn of time, our ancestors have left us with the tales. Stories which speak of things that they have seen and lived alongside by, feared, respected, and even looked to some of them as godlike. Modern man refers to such things as spirits, extraterrestrials, demons, cryptids, creatures, and entities of all kinds, and so much more. These things and tales are now referred by most as myths and legends. But there are those of us that know what our ancestors spoke of was the truth. Those of us that have become obsessed in searching for answers and finding out the truth are here. We need the truth. This search brings us into the realm of the unexplained and unknown. It brings us on the trail. The search for living legends. Please join JR and I on the quest, and welcome to the search.
All right, so
recording.
All right, well, everybody, welcome to actually, what is it, Shawn? Episode 4, correct? Yeah, this is episode 4, season 2 of On the Trail. What's that?
Season 2, On the Trail. Episode
thank
4.
You, thank you. Yeah, as Shawn said, just as he said, we have our good friend on tonight, Miss Aimee, and actually, Shawn and I have interviewed Aimee before, but some stuff happened and we never got it published, which I feel very guilty about. But we have her back, fortunately. And tonight, what we're going to do is Aimee has a lot to talk about. She's had some very Aimee, don't take this the wrong way. Interesting experiences, but yet some of them are very disturbing at the same time. And I give her a lot of credit for coming on with us and discussing this stuff with us, because I know Shawn and I both know, as witnesses to phenomena, it is not easy to talk about.
No.
So, Aimee, welcome again.
Hello.
And I guess we can, let's, like I said before, we'll take this about an hour and a half, and we'll reschedule you for a second part. Maybe we can get it all in, get as much detail as possible, So anyway, Aimee, can you just start by giving us a quick background on yourself? I know we've been through this before, but
no, you're fine.
No formality.
I was not born, but I was raised in California. I was adopted from Kansas when I was first born. I'm a mother of 4, and I was raised Jewish. I'm a Christian now, and that's my background.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, now as far as how do I want to say this? As far as your, I don't know how to put this in the right way. As far as everything, when these certain experiences you started happening, how old were you?
Probably about 5.
Okay, now,
but
go
ahead. I didn't recognize it as being the first time.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, looking back on it and the other things that people have told me, I'm like, yeah, that's probably when it started.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, do you want to? I guess that's a great starting point. Would you mind talking a little bit about that?
Sure.
What happened at that time period, like you just said, at 5, to start this all off?
Yeah. It started out, that's the earliest memory that I think I have. I don't know what happened before that, but the earliest I had was dreams that I would have for, I don't even know, probably 8 years, the same dream for almost 8 years straight.
Okay.
And it was vivid when it happened. So I thought maybe it was happening, maybe it wasn't, maybe it was just a really intense, vivid dream. And, like, keep in mind, I've never been exposed to you know, being that young, never been exposed to like scary movies or talking about certain things. It was, you know, I was a normal 5-year-old, and I would have these dreams, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night and there'd be a giant bright light outside of my window. And I would kind of like sit up in my bed, and then my windows would be smashed out, and there was like tons and tons of wind, and I was gripping really hard to my bed. There was this like pull-out drawer underneath my bed, and I'd be gripping on it so hard, trying not to be sucked out the window. And it was like the brightest light you could possibly imagine, and it was blinding, and it was, I don't know, it felt horrible. And it would go on for years and years and years. The same thing, same scenario. I'd fall asleep, I'd be fine. And then I'd wake up with the bright light and my windows being busted out. And I was on and on and on for years. And it wasn't until actually my mother-in-law, I would say 2 years ago, she's like, how do you know that wasn't real? And I never really thought about it that way. And I was like, oh, I guess it could have been, which would make sense why the next stuff started happening. Because I remember I got so sick and tired of these dreams happening that that I was just like going crazy, even as a kid. And I would tell my parents about it, and they're like, yeah, you know, whatever. But still, it's not typical for a young child to be having dreams like that. And then it went on to nightmares on top of those dreams happening, where this cloaked figure with no face would come up behind me and like stab me in the back. And I remember feeling like it was bone, but I wasn't quite sure, because it was really hard, but it was rounded at the end, which is not like, you know, a knife or I don't know, something in my bed.
The instrument he stabbing you with, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would wake up out of these dreams with this cloaked figure, with physical pain in my back. And even to this day, there's a numb spot kind of halfway up my spine that still to this day, it's completely numb. And I get sharp pains every once in a while on my right side, you know, spreading out kind of like a, I don't know, like a vine going to my different nerve endings, and it hurts and it's numb. It's a really weird, bizarre feeling. And then it got to a point where those dreams where I kept getting touched in the back, and it wasn't just like nice, you know what I mean? It wasn't just like, oh, look at your back. It hurt. It was really, really painful. And I remember I got to a point again where I just got so fed up. I remember, and I was scared to do it. I turned around to this cloaked figure, and I was just like, stop. And it was at that moment that I kind of like came to kind of half awake in my bed. And I remember feeling like I was floating off of my bed, and I felt around, because I was like, there's no way this could be, you know, true. How can this be happening? And I remember with my right hand gripping over on the side of my bed, trying to feel for my bed, and I felt nothing. There was nothing there. And I kept feeling around with both of my hands. There was nothing below me. I could feel my blankets kind of like, you know, the heavy weight when you like pick a kid up and the weight from the blanket pulls them down a little bit. I felt that all over my lower half of my body. So I was like, okay, this is actually happening. And I remember at that point, that's when this cloaked figure was standing in the corner of my room on the right-hand side. Like if you were to look at the foot of the bed where my feet were, it was to the right of that, just standing in the corner. And I remember kind of like slamming down onto my bed, like I'd been dropped. And then I looked towards my bedroom door, and my bedroom door is open, and I see this cat coming into my room from the hallway with bright red eyes. And I am frozen in fear. I must have been 8 years old by this time. Frozen in fear. I can't move. I can't breathe. I can't talk. I can't even scream. I tried to scream, but I couldn't. I was completely frozen. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's probably sleep paralysis, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I was never prone to any of that. And this cat keeps crawling and crawling and crawling. It's creeping, you know, like when cats or any kind of animal stalks, it's that slow, just low to the ground.
Low to the ground. Yep.
and I could see its eyes, and it was starting to come up onto my bed, and it got to where my chest was. And then finally I was able to let out a scream, and I was, screamed for my mom and saying, "There's a cat in my room." Like, and she came running in because I guess the scream alarmed her enough, turned on the lights, and everything disappeared. There's nothing there. There's no evidence of it. I felt it on me, and I felt being dropped, and I saw what I saw in the corner, but nothing was there. And for, I don't know, 2 years after that, maybe a year after that, I could not sleep without the lights on because I was so scared.
I don't blame you. Let me ask you a question real quick.
Sure.
The cat now.
Mhm.
Can you describe? And there's reasons why. I'll get more into this later, but there's reasons why I'm just interested in the description of this cat.
Mhm.
Was it like a long-haired cat, or did it look like a?
It looked like a short-haired black cat,
Okay.
but it was larger than a normal house cat.
Right. Okay.
But the
Yeah.
eyes never faltered. They were bright red, almost ruby red.
Right. Which in itself would give absolutely scare anybody, really. I mean, coming out of your hallway, a cat that you didn't own. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
God almighty. Wow. I think we talked about this before. That almost, God, a lot of that, what you just described sounds, almost alien-esque in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I know we all have our different thoughts on it, but that's Sean. What are you thinking? I'm interested to know.
Demons. I'm thinking demons. I'm thinking demons and aliens could be the same thing. I don't know. I just know that Amy's not a liar, and
no,
all this stuff happened to her, and it's
yes,
crazy, and it's good that she's getting it off her chest and sharing it with other people because she's not alone.
No,
I've had crap. I've had weird shit.
Yes.
I've had weird stuff.
Yep.
And there's a lot of people out there that can benefit from hearing this.
Absolutely.
They're definitely not alone.
Yep.
And having experiences like this because it happens.
It does. It does. It really does.
So there was more with that cat later, wasn't there?
Well, I would have like dreams and stuff, but like of the cat, and it was really horrific, gross dreams. And I didn't mention this last time, or maybe I did, I don't know, how I would have these repetitive dreams of that same cat. It was like actual dreams, like you're dreaming of something happening during the day, and I would be, and it's horrible, and I don't like saying it, but I'd be like smashing this cat's head in.
Right.
And just being brutal to this thing. And it didn't make sense because I love animals. Like anybody who knows me knows I would never, ever harm anything ever. But it was always that stupid cat. And it would come up to me trying to hurt me. And I would just sit there bashing its head in, which is horrible. Like even as an adult.
Subconscious reason you were doing it.
Yeah.
Or, a reason being, there had to be a reason being. These were dreams, you said, or what you thought were dreams.
Yeah, I mean, it made the most sense to me, I guess.
At the time, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Sounds like spiritual warfare.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
It's like. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I know that you still deal with stuff to this day.
Yeah. But never the cat. The cat hasn't come back, so that's good.
Well, good. You smash his head enough, he's not going to.
This is true. This is true.
Fight that stuff.
Yeah,
oh, I know.
And that's one thing, I will back you. Aimee is not a liar, and that everything coming out of her mouth is 100% true.
She's a 100% badass. She fights demons.
You're freaking right. You're damn right. Aimee and I were joking the other night, and we were talking, and she mentioned something. I'm not gonna get into it, but she mentioned something and kind of warned me about something. I said, it's my wife has is very similar to Aimee, and I said, you know, it's such a comforting feeling knowing I have such badass women in my life that can pretty much take care of anything if I need to. Very comforting feeling. But so Aimee, now where did this go? How did this all progress?
Oh, it got so bad. I mean, it's when you think about it as a kid, it seems really bizarre, and you try talking to people, you know, and I didn't tell any friends because I thought I was crazy. I tried to talk to my mom, but I think after that cat thing, I was just like, no one's going to believe me.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they do, you don't go to a therapist or you don't talk to people about,
No.
oh, I see things that are there, because they're gonna send you to a nut house.
We
You know?
know the feeling.
Yeah. So you just kind of keep quiet. And
Yep.
It's very disorienting, I think, as a
Yeah.
kid to have to deal with like normal kid problems on top of this stuff.
That stuff. Yeah.
It's just it's weird, and the shadow stuff never stopped after that. And I was
That's what really got me the last time we talked. That stuff. That shadow type stuff really that creeps me out. No matter where I hear it from.
Yeah. Well, I've always had this, you know how like kids normally have like just, I don't know, biological fears of like dark hallways where you just kind of like scuttle up the stairs and like quickly turn your light on.
Yeah.
Well, we had one of those, you know, long staircases with the dark hallway, and it was like typical like scary movie stuff, but it was always my fifth bedroom. We always called it the fifth bedroom because it was the northernmost bedroom in the house, which used to actually be my bedroom as an infant, and then I moved into another one, but then we used it for storage. And I was always like irked about that room specifically, which of course the door was right next to my door, and it would always be, even in my room at night when I would see these things, they would always stay to that right hand corner, which was adjacent to that fifth bedroom. And I would always see them in the hallway, scuttering around, and it was, you know, just out of the corner of your eye. So you think you're crazy, but at the same time, like, you take a second look and it's not leaving. So you're just like, okay, maybe I'm not crazy. And then, you know, my parents, they were kind of older, so a lot of our family members died when I was relatively young, so we'd be in and out of hospitals all the time. And it was when I first started consistently going to hospitals that I realized that what I was experiencing was not normal in terms of like having normal childish things like, oh, we have a, what do they call it? You know, like your friends, your invisible friend or whatever it is.
Imaginary friend. Yeah.
There you go. That's the one. Because I would walk through these halls and I would see these people, and I thought it was just people, but it wasn't until I heard the voices, especially going through like IC units and stuff like that, that I would hear people like coming up to me and talking to me. And my mom, I remember one time specifically, my mom was like, who are you talking to? I'm like, don't you see her? And it was like an older woman. She goes, no, she's just, come on. Like, what are you doing? Stop messing around. I'm like, no, she's asking me where, I forgot the guy's name, but she was asking for a guy, and I could see her clear as day, but I knew something was a little off. And that's when I was like, okay, I guess this is what I'm gonna have to deal with for a while. I didn't really know, and it was super isolating, and it was very, very lonely because I couldn't, again, talk to anybody about it. You know, even at 13, you're just worried about playing, you know, ball against, you know, with your friends and getting classwork done. It, you know, it wasn't anything that I could really speak to. But it wasn't until I was sitting at my friend's house in high school. Fast forward a few years, you know, still going, seeing things, still hearing things, still, you know, in everyday life, I would see people I knew that weren't actually there, but were there, like through grocery stores. And it always felt like I was being watched, but not in a malicious way. It was just like, oh, okay, there she is, or whatever.
Right.
It wasn't until high school when I was visiting one of my friends. We were sitting at the kitchen table. I had my gym bag that we used for track sitting on top of the table, and we're just sitting there talking, you know, fiddling around, doing nothing. And this bag goes flying across the table. And I just look at her and I'm like, did you really just see that? Like, did you see what I saw? And she's like, oh yeah, that happens all the time here. I was like, wait, like, you know about this stuff too? She goes, yeah, that's a poltergeist. We have a few in our house. And I was like, seriously? And it was such a sigh of relief because I was like, okay, finally I could talk to somebody about this stuff.
Right.
And I didn't feel crazy.
Must have been a sign, or must have been a relief.
Well, yeah, for sure. And we talked about some stuff, and some of the stuff she didn't really believe. And I never told anyone about the whole like dreams that I had up until a few years ago. But, you know, I told her about the people. She goes, oh yeah, I see him too. Like all the time.
Wow.
And she's like, yeah, at night, sometimes like I just try to ignore them, but they open and close our doors, you know, the cabinet doors, and stuff fly off our tables all the time. And I was like, does it scare you? She goes, it used to, but now we're just kind of used to it. I was like, does your dad see it? Does anybody else see it? She goes, well, you can't not see it when, you know, things are physically being moved around.
Right.
And then, let's see. It was when I went to Four Corners with my family. We took a little vacation. Somewhere
there.
Yeah. And I was walking through this. We happened to go into this little small town, which I knew was by an Indian reservation because there was, you know, signs everywhere. And I kept asking my dad, like, why can't we go in there? And he's like, you just can't. It's a reservation, blah, blah, blah. And we went to this little local, like, diner type place. And we were sitting there eating our stuff, whatever. And I start to feel, you know, that feeling when you're getting stared at and you just know it's happening, but you're not looking up because you're trying to avoid it.
Absolutely.
So I feel this the whole time that I'm sitting there. I'm sitting with my brother and he's like looking around, kind of confused, wondering what's going on. And I'm like, what? He goes, everyone is staring at you. And I was like, so I'm not just feeling it? He goes, no, look. And so I turn around and it was almost like everything paused, like on a DVD or something. I know it's so old school, but everything paused. You couldn't hear anything. Nobody was moving. And I just look around and literally every eye is staring at me. Everyone. And then I look back at my brother. I look back at my brother and it's like nothing ever happened. Everybody's going along their business, eating their food, you know, chit-chatting and all that. And I get up and I'm walking out, and I'm always usually the last in line. Like it's my dad, then my mom, then my brother, then me.
Right.
And as I'm walking out of this place, I turn around again. And again, it was like, you press pause. And everybody is staring at me. Wow. And I walk out the door and I'm talking to my brother. I'm like, did you see that? Does anybody else notice anything? He goes, what are you talking about? And I'm like, everybody is staring at me. He goes, I didn't see anything. I was like, but we were just at the table and you told me they were. He goes, no, I didn't. I didn't say anything to you. What are you talking about? And then I asked my mom and she goes, no, you were sitting at the table and you just got quiet and you were eating your food.
Right.
And she's like, we didn't notice anything. So then I just brushed it off. I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay, fine. I guess I'm imagining things again. Woohoo, you know. And then, I don't know, it was a couple years later, there was like this party that one of my friends had where she rented out a couple of rooms in the Queen Mary.
Yep.
And right off the bat, I'm not entirely enthusiastic about staying there overnight. It's just, I don't know, you get an eerie feeling. You don't want to do it. It's like, it's not something that I want to enjoy. Oh, rewind. Sorry. This is why I'm supposed to be writing things down so I don't get all off track. But when I was younger, my brother and I were climbing a tree just in our backyard, having fun. And I had this unrealistic fear of spiders, like to the
Sounds like
point
my
where I'll
mom.
get well, it's like cold sweats and you're like trembling, and they're
You're
tiny
right.
little things.
Right.
What are you gonna do? But
Yeah.
I remember one time one of those like tree jumping spiders hopped on my hand, and I was so terrified. Which seems kind of ridiculous when you think about it, considering the things that I've seen and like what I've gone through. This dinky little spider, like, oh
Yeah.
no. But I hopped out of the tree and I'm screaming at my brother. I'm like, "Why off me?" And I guess I became so hysterical, I scared him. And so I'm like running after him in the house to like pat me down, basically, so I know that nothing's on me. And I'm running up the stairs after him, like terrified, crying, and he slams the door in my face. And he's like, "Don't come in here, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Please just help me." Finally, I calm down and he opens the door and he's like, "Aimee, your eyes turned purple." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Yeah, you were terrified and I was looking at your face and trying to find the spider, and I look at you and your eyes are purple." I'm like, "The whole thing?" Like, he goes, "No, they were like violet colored with your pupils, but it was like the violet was moving in your eye."
Oh wow.
And he's like, "It just scared me so bad I needed to get away." And I was like, "Oh, that's great." I mean, sometimes my eyes change color based on what I'm wearing. Like they can be
Sure.
grayish or,
Yeah.
but my eyes they're pretty bright blue.
Yeah.
So to make that extreme of a color change, I don't know. I don't know what it meant. I have no idea till this
That's a
day.
good question. That's
Wow.
that's yeah, right. That's definitely interesting. For
Maybe
sure.
you're an X-Man. You ever tried to like use some
Maybe.
telekinetic shit? We
Dude,
need to get
okay.
Professor Xavier in on this conversation.
No, I know, making fun. No, but really, okay, there is something I have to say about that though. And you're gonna think I'm crazy, but that's okay. So I
You're
was
not
sitting
crazy.
I was sitting at the end of my bed. Oh, this was like, I don't know, 10 years ago, something like that. I was going through a rough time, whatever. And I was sitting at the end of my bed and I was really angry about something that had happened, I don't know, 20 minutes before. And I was sitting there just brewing. I was hurt and angry and whatever. And my bed starts, or not my bed, but the person I was talking to at the time, their bed starts shaking violently. Like I'm talking like earthquake status, like
Right.
7.0 earthquake. And he jumps off the bed and he's like, "What the fuck? What's going on here?" And I
Yeah.
was just like, "Huh?" And I kind of snapped out of it. And he's like, "That was no earthquake. What did you just do?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, I was like, "I didn't do anything. I'm sitting here on the end of the bed. What are you talking about?" And he goes, "You just shook the bed." But I wasn't moving. I was just sitting at the end of the bed, like with my palms, on my face,
Right.
trying not to have a breakdown. He goes, "I don't know what the hell." And I freaked him out for a while. Like
Sure.
he didn't want to come near me. He didn't want to touch me. He didn't want to, nothing.
Right.
So, hey, maybe I am an X-Man.
That's
I don't know.
That's definitely it's definitely interesting.
It's weird.
It is, and yeah. So I know you mentioned before, as you got older in life, these things just kept continuing,
Yeah.
and as I do, I know they do now for you as well. Now we got into before, let's talk. Can we talk about the shadow figures a little bit?
Sure.
Like, at what point did they become did they become really prevalent?
It was right around that time
Yeah.
that I was staying, when I stayed overnight at the Queen Mary, because like
Okay.
it was, I'd get little breaks here and there where I would have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the vision started. Then
Mm-hmm.
the shadow people kicked up, and it was after I got to the Queen Mary and we were roaming around the halls and stuff, and they wanted to go down to the, what do you call it, where the propellers are at the bottom of the ship. What are those called?
Mm-hmm.
Boiler room, whatever it is.
Boiler room, yeah.
Yeah.
And I would not step foot in there. I'm like, "Nope, not going. I'm not doing that. You guys go ahead. That's fine." Like, have fun. And they're, oh, you're scared. I'm like, no, I'm not going to. And I got to a point where they were just like, yeah, you're just scared. I'm like, okay, come here. And I walked them to the end of the hallway and I'm like, go in that room. And so they cautiously walk into this room. It's just a room that was supposed to be, you know, you're not supposed to go in there, but of course we're teenagers and stupid and we do it anyway. And so I'm like, go ahead, go in that room. They're like, what's in there? What did you put in there? I was like, I didn't put anything in there. Go.
What did you put in there?
And they walk in there and sure enough, something comes flying out of that room. A human, I'm assuming, you know, shadow figure, and they all come screaming out of that room. And they're like, what was that? Why did you make us go in there? I was like, I told you, there's reasons why I don't want to go into these areas.
Yeah.
And it's like, I have to get to a point where like I almost allow things to happen so that people can wake the heck up.
Yes. Well,
And
very, very well put. Very well put. I know that's why Shawn and I do this, is to, you know, educate. And I know that's why you're on here tonight as well. You know, people need to wake the hell up. You know, there's a lot out there that people don't understand, and people are deniers by nature, I guess. But
yeah,
it comes to a point where people need to wake up. Very well, very well said. I didn't mean to get off topic, but that was
you're fine.
That was very, very well said, Aimee. Very well said.
I think from a young age, we're all taught to ignore our sixth sense, and some of us just can't. And I think you might be one of those people that cannot ignore your sixth sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got a connection with a part of your brain that most of us had kind of built a wall up against. And I don't know how else to describe it. I think you just have that. You hit it
right in the money.
You're not suppressing.
Yeah.
Well, even when I try to, I don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
It's just like, here I am.
Yep.
My family actually calls it my karma, because I'll tell them specifically what's going to happen or what not to do, and that exact thing happens after I said it. And it's not just like circumstantial. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, if you ride your bike, you're gonna fall or something stupid like that. I'm like, don't do XYZ.
It's right on the money, yeah.
And then bam. And so if anything happens or they go anywhere, they're like, keep your mouth shut. I'm like, sorry.
Yeah. It's I call it word vomit with my wife, because when she gets started, and like say with somebody, if she sees something, she can't physically stop.
Yeah.
It just comes and it pours out.
Yep.
You know, and sometimes I get so, I don't want to say embarrassed isn't the word, because I'm not embarrassed by it one bit, because I think it's amazing. You know, the way people like you and her, you help people. But sometimes it's like the stuff that she brings up into these people, I just want to crawl under a hole and just be like, oh my Lord, wow, I can't believe you just said that. But you know, I understand, I do. And it's just, wow, it's incredible. Now, it's for what really, I just want to rewind it a little bit, and
sure.
And for some reason, I keep thinking about that figure you mentioned that you would see with the cloak. Was there any? I forget if you mentioned anything about seeing a face at all.
The Joker? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
It was like a, I don't like talking about that. That's why I'm like, oh, the shadow guy, the cloak guy.
Yeah, I know. You don't have to get into detail, Aimee. I just want. I know it kind of freaked you out, you know.
It's him that would sit in the corners with the cloak on, and he would just look, and it was that half your face smile that you see on Joker. I forgot the person that you sent me. You sent me a link a while back of the face. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And that's scary in itself.
Well, it's terrifying.
It's yeah. And like Shawn, you were saying, it's almost like demonic type smile. I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
yeah, and she's not the only person. I've heard multiple
Yes.
people talk about this thing, and it's got that sharp teeth, big wide smile,
Yep.
Piercing eyes, just staring at you like, and it's common. It's a very common thing
It
for
is.
people that see this stuff. I mean, it's like the Hat Man. A lot of people see the Hat Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's coming.
The Joker guy. Yeah, right. Yeah. It's nuts, but I've heard a lot of interviews where people talk about this, and it's always up in the corner. A lot of times they're elevated, like their head's almost touching the ceiling. They're floating up in the corner, looking down on you.
Yeah.
Mine, shockingly enough, every instance that I've come in quote unquote contact with this thing, they're always either at eye level or below me.
As far as is what the Hat
either
Man?
No, not the Hat Man, the Joker guy.
Okay.
So it's either at my level or below me, looking up at me, which is almost more scary, I think, at least for me.
Yeah.
Because the head's always tilted down a bit, and they're looking kind of like up at you.
Right.
I don't know how to describe it. Like as if their chin was down at their chest, but they're looking at you and you could see it. Anyway. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Nightmares tonight.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah. That's out.
Well, that's kind of always the like hit or miss. And I'm thankful it didn't happen this time. And I think that had a lot to do with mentioning things to you about like, hey, can you help me? Because the last time, we tried doing this, it was awful right before.
Yeah.
Like really awful. But yeah. So thankfully this time around I didn't have it, but I do feel a little more scatterbrained. I'll be honest. I'm kind of all over the place.
And that's okay. I mean, that's okay. I mean, we all get scatterbrained when it comes to this type of stuff. It's no matter what.
This is when you're wide awake, right? When you're seeing the Joker guy.
Oh yeah. There's no
the cat thing. When you're smashing the cat's head, you're definitely sleeping. It's a dream.
Yes. Yeah.
I wonder what would happen if you would try to smash the Joker's head while you were awake.
Question.
It's never close enough for me to actually. The closest thing that I had to that was when I went. And I know I told you guys about this before, but the sandwich place when I was with my family.
Yeah, go into that again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because nobody else has heard it. We got to kind of redo everything we did and then add to it.
Right.
Well, do you want me to jump there, or do you want me to like go in chronological order?
Do whatever you want. This is
do whatever you want.
your hour, so.
It's your show.
Okay. Well, I'll go with the second time that I saw the Joker dude. Yeah. It was right after I got, relatively close to when I got baptized.
Mm-hmm.
In 2011 ish, and we were like building up into that point of being baptized. It was war. Like something was physically stopping me from doing it. Like I can't explain it very well, but it was like a force, like literally up into the steps of getting to the beach, because that's where I had it done. I was being weighed down by something I couldn't see, or I could only feel it. And up until that point, I was arguing a lot, and I was just generally unhappy, and I was dreadful, and I was just angry up until that day that I got baptized. And I remember opening up the door and looking out to the ocean, and it felt like a 500-pound weight was put on my shoulders. And it took so much thought trying to pick my feet up and move my legs and get to that place down on the beach near the pastor. And I remember feeling like I wanted to run, like I did not want to go there, but I knew I had to. And so I just kept pushing and pushing, and it felt like it took years to get down to the beach, but it was, like a minute, 2 minutes.
Sounds like something didn't, like you were just saying, something didn't want you baptized.
No, not at all. And then of course when I, got out of it, I felt like $1,000,000, no weight. It was fantastic.
Right.
And I was hysterically laughing with joy for, I don't know, like 3 hours. It was kind of ridiculous. But it was a happy time. But then,
absolutely,
maybe like a few months after that. Sorry, I wrote something down here and I can't even read my writing. Oh yeah, the Murphy's Law thing. So we were sitting at the hot tub where my husband's grandmother was living, like in their little community, and we were sitting there, and it was late at night, and the stars are pretty, and it was, it was like, oh, this is great. And I don't know how to share the direction, but I'm on like the left side of the hot tub.
okay.
The grandmother's to my left, and my husband's on my right, kind of making a triangle in the hot tub, just talking or whatever. And I'm seeing stuff move around in their like rec room, just like running back and forth. And I'm sitting there just kind of ignoring it, like, oh great, here we go again. This is lovely. And it's multiple things. Like I don't know exactly what it is, but I could see him dashing around, running, sprinting, whatever you want to call it. And then this guy shows up, climbs into the pool. There's 2 hot tubs in a pool. Sorry, I'm trying to.
Person or?
Well, I thought it was a person.
Okay.
And we look over, and I'm looking at this guy, and he's staring. And then his head starts to droop. And I was like, oh shit, here we go. And I'm looking at my husband. I'm like, look at this guy. Look. And he turned, not obviously looking, but like kind of like slightly turning his head, and he can't take his eyes off this guy either. And there he goes. His mouth starts to widen. His eyes start to look up. And this is all slow motion. Like this isn't some big like snap drastic thing. It's the slow progression of the smile widening. And you could see his face. You could see his face like opening up, and his head's tilted down, but his eyes are looking straight at us. And he's sitting there, and you could hear the hackle come out of him. I don't know how to do it because I can't physically do it, but it's like that, like that slow, growly, gross laugh. And I'm just like looking at him.
Totally gross.
Yeah.
Disgusting. Yeah, absolutely. Vile. Yeah. Foul. Yeah.
Foul.
Absolutely.
And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm looking back at my husband. I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, do you fucking see this thing right now? And he's like, yeah, that's really freaky. And then my grandma looks over, and she sees it. And she's like, what is that? And I'm like, I don't know, but we need to leave. Like, we need to get out of here now. And so.
Is that your biological grandma?
No.
Okay.
No. So we get up and we leave, and we talked about it a little, but the grandma was kind of uncomfortable, and
sure,
we brushed it off. After that is being just some guy twacked out on drugs, like that's the only thing that you can rationalize at that time. And and then right after that, that's when everything picked up again with the stalking. And I call it stalking because it wasn't just happenings, like there's residual haunts, and there's like spirits that are just stuck or whatever. But no, I was
don't know they're dead. And
but
it is stalking. Perfect way to put it.
Being closed in on, and and being surrounded and being watched. And it was never one single one.
Right.
It always came in packs of 3s. And I remember specifically being in this house that it was in Southern California, and it was an okay neighborhood. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but this place that we were staying at, sorry.
Okay, take your time.
And I had experienced stuff here before I met my husband with my kids and stuff. But it was the first time that he saw anything. like that he couldn't dismiss as being something else, because we were in our home and he saw a shadow figure for the first time there in the hallway, just standing. And he couldn't make out specific features. It was just like the outline of this thing. He didn't want to talk about it much, so we didn't, but I was like, okay, like, I guess I got to suit up again, because, and you kind of assume that, like, oh, if I get baptized, if I'm clinging to God and I'm praying, which it's all fantastic and it's a great thing, and I love my faith, but you can't always just pray it away. At least in my case, it's not just, I mean, you can, but it takes more.
It does. I know
sustenance. You know what I mean? Like,
it does.
And
yeah.
And so I remember there's so much stuff. I'm trying to think of time frames so that I could link this better together. This was before he moved in. It was right after we moved into this place. My kids were pretty young. I was pregnant. And I didn't know anything about the house. I didn't I didn't know much about the house. All I knew was that, it's a great new place. Like, cause I had been living in Anaheim before that and kind of bouncing all over the place. And in Anaheim, I saw some stuff there too. I didn't see anything specifically in my apartment itself, but usually out in the gym or, just things passing by windows or whatever it was. But when we moved into this house, we call it the Londell house. There was one point in time when this stuff got so intense. I remember 2 instances specifically. And mind you, I didn't know anything about this place before that. Like, I didn't know who the previous renters were, nothing like that. So I remember this time it got particularly bad. And when I say bad, I don't mean noisy. I don't mean, threatened. I mean, like, you are being attacked. It would be nights when I'd wake up out of my bed in sweats and things would be standing over me. It would be scratches. I remember one time I was standing in my hallway checking on my kids before I went to sleep, and knowing that my boys were asleep, I still checked on them anyway. So I peek into the room and my son is sitting there, like laying on the top bunk, laying down on the bottom bunk, and something told me, look again. So I did, just as like a secondary check. And I look, and my middle son is staring at me. Complete black eyes with a smile on his face.
Oh, God.
Just staring.
Sounds like the same as your Joker guy.
Yeah, same big smile, except his eyes were completely black. Almost like Jack Skellington.
Okay.
In a way.
Okay.
And I'm looking at him like, oh my God. And I was terrified because I didn't want my kid being involved in this. And he had already had an incident prior to this when he was an infant, so I was like, you're not messing with my kids. And so I'm sitting there looking at this thing, and I close my eyes real tight, like shutting them tight, trying to make it almost go away. In my mind, somehow that made sense. No. So I open up my eyes and he's still asleep with his arms folded on his chest. I can't see his face, because he's asleep with his head up towards the top bunk. And so I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just seeing things because it's really dark here. No, I closed his door, and immediately after I shut their door, something grabs me by the throat, lifts me about 3 foot off the floor, and I'm just stuck there. I can't breathe. I can't think. I could feel this thing around my throat. And I wish to this day that I would have kept the pictures, but I didn't. But I had physical hand marks on my neck, like almost like burns.
And to lift anybody off the ground, whether it's a child or a full grown man with, like that, that takes a lot of strength, if you will. You know what I mean? It takes a lot to do. That's not easy to do.
No,
So
it's not.
Not at all. Yeah,
And
that's scary.
Well, it was, especially right after, that other stuff with my son happened. It was unnerving, and I wasn't prepared for it. I didn't feel prepared, at least. And this was before I got baptized, before I met my husband, before all that. And I'm just sitting there, like, trying to grasp my, breath, trying to get it back. And I remember I took my dinky old Nokia phone that happened to have a camera on it, and I took pictures. I'm like, no one's going to believe me. And I saw these scratches, and my neck felt like it got burned on a skillet almost.
Right.
And I was looking at it, and my welts got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was like bruised. And I just remember sitting there going, like, why is this happening? I don't understand this. And I'm sitting there getting kind of pissed off, because it's like, you don't fuck with my kids. You mess with me all you want, that's fine, but you don't mess with my kids. And I remember, as soon as I metaphorically suited up, everything got worse. So I would have these, like, swarms of things going in circles around the property, and it was like physical noise that you could hear all of it. It was swooshing, and it was like laughing, and it felt like a tornado almost around my property. But they didn't step in the property, because I guarded my property. You know what I mean? Where you take claim over your space.
Yes, exactly.
But they were just sitting out there, just waiting, and screaming and trying to make it felt like I was being, like, tormented or teased, or I don't know what you want to call it.
No, you taunted, teased, yeah.
Like, ha ha ha, you think you're so good?
You think you're so good? We'll show you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
And yeah, I don't entirely know where I was going with that, but that was that guy.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, and you're right. It's a tease thing, taunting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think, Sean?
Demons. That's
that's
demons messing with her.
Yep.
And well, then
it makes me wonder why you specifically. What opened that door initially, and why for something to lift you off the ground and elevate. You're elevating in your bed. That's some serious shit. That's not.
It is.
That's not your typical poltergeist activity. That's like
no.
Very extreme. That kind of stuff happens, but it doesn't happen as frequently as say, like even just the shadow guy in the corner. That's seen by a lot of people. But the physical part of it is just, good Lord, you're dealing with something that's more powerful than most.
Right.
Well, it's crazy, because I don't involve myself with anything that would warrant this kind of stuff, like I know, and I knew from a very, very young age, you don't mess with that stuff. You don't use the boards, and I don't even like saying the word, but you don't use the boards.
No way.
You don't go near it. You don't associate with people who do that. I just knew this isn't something that was taught. It makes me wonder
if a family member or somebody in your biological family, somebody opened a door.
Yes.
At some point and let things through.
I don't know.
There's generational curses. In Mexico, they've got this witchcraft, Santeria.
Yeah.
Where people, it's really normal down there. I mean, I've heard interviews. We did an interview with a guy.
Yeah, she checked it out. Yep.
Yeah, and it just makes me feel like something opened a door at some point in your life to let this stuff through, and it's just relentlessly fucking with you. And that sucks.
But like, even as a
you getting baptized as a Christian and having Jesus in your life, and this is what I believe 100%. I'm a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus saved me and
yeah.
totally saved my life. But I think that's your best protection and the only way to combat this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with any good type of religion, whether it's Christianity or anything, as long as you're faithful to that, good creator God that you believe in, I think that's good that's protection.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you pray and stay continuous to that. You know what I mean? You have to stick with it. You can't just say every now and again. You have to remain faithful to it. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing, that was the thought that I had, and I didn't believe in God because of the stuff that happened. I believed in him
Right.
in spite of it, and I assumed, like a fool, and I feel foolish, that it would just all go away.
Yeah.
And it
didn't. No, but unfortunately, I hate to say this, but there's just in everything, in every world religion mentioned, there's a balance.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, there is. But in my opinion, good will prevail.
Yeah.
That's my personal belief.
Well, and it's not all bad. You know what I
No,
mean? Like,
I get it. Yeah.
And it, like, this stuff happened, and even with this stuff happening, I can't tell you, like, for years. I mean, I went on this I don't even know what you would call it, but journey, trying to figure out how to use whatever I have as a means to help people. And
Sure.
I helped one of my friends at the time, her father, pass on. I've given messages to people, it's, and like, help them through their own stuff, trying to understand what the heck's going on within their own family and their home. And so there's some good that comes from it. But in terms of this other stuff, it's not as intense as it was before, meaning, like, I feel like I have a different understanding for it.
Right.
And realizing my own ability to stop this, using, Christ, and using what I know in terms of my knowledge of what he is, and him being in love, and having his protection. It's helped me not be so fearful. But it's not going to stop this stuff from happening. And I've told you, and that's one thing I can't stand. And I feel like I have to say this: when people who are Christians tell other Christians who are going through this stuff, oh, it's because you've sinned that this is happening to you. And I'm like, are you nuts? Like, of course it can. Of course it can. Of course it can open doors, right? Sure. But I didn't ask for any of this. So when they sit there with their condescending comments about, you're not Christianly enough and that's why this is happening, I'm like, do you even know? Like, do you even understand what all hasn't happened because I'm able to do what I do? Like, do you not, can you even wrap your mind around any of that? And it's not even coming from a place where I'm like, I am holier than thou art, I am so great. No, it's like, you haven't been given the circumstances and the abilities to understand everything. And I'm not saying that I do, because some of this stuff I'm still like, wait, what? But you can't say things like that coming from a place of, suddenly, you must know better because you're a Christian. Like, it's not like that. I didn't choose this path. I don't particularly care for it, to be honest.
Right. I get it. Yeah, I do.
But God does help, and I will say that, and I'll say that until my dying breath. It's like an added layer of protection for myself.
Honestly, God doesn't intervene all the time, or have,
No.
Yeah.
I believe angels come in as needed, but he lets you deal with things like this for a reason. Down the road, it'll be, I mean, hindsight is 20/20. You'll understand later why you had to go through what you had to go through.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it may just be to help other people that have gone through something similar. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you more than you can handle. That's
You know,
for sure.
Right.
at what point? That's my question. It's like, you know, and I tell myself that too, like, he won't give me more than I can handle, but like, he obviously thinks that I'm much more capable than I feel that I am, which, you know, he knows us, so he knows, but still, I'm just like, am I done yet?
Right.
Am I at my max?
Right.
I get to that point a lot. When is enough enough? You know, we all go through.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and you know, as far as like giving you more than you can handle, you know, my wife will have what she feels may or may not be dreams, where she's told as well, Aimee. You know, we talked about this, where she's told, you know, you're here for a reason, and I can't tell you what it is right now, but you will find out, and you will experience much more between now and then. And she gets frustrated too. You know, when's enough enough? You know, how much longer are we gonna have to deal with this shit? You know, probably the rest of your life, unfortunately. But
yeah, none of us ask for it. None of us
no.
Like, but yeah, getting back to, you know, our other show, in this show too, Bigfoot's pretty much the main focus, but I didn't ask to see that stupid thing, man. And it flipped my world upside down, and it's got me damaged.
Yeah.
It's a world turner.
I've had experiences with demons too, and that also
same here
turned my world upside down, and it damaged me, but I'm here. And I'm dealing with it, and you're here and you're dealing with it.
Exactly.
You know, and we're all here talking about it, and this is gonna hopefully reach the right people, and they'll know that they're not crazy.
You know? And great point, Shawn. And that's what I hope this accomplishes. I hope, you know, the three of us sitting here talking about this tonight, if we can reach just one person that's struggling with this, I'm a happy man.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully more than that, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just put it in perspective, we can reach just one person that needs the help. That makes me extremely happy, and that's why we do this. You know, I mean, Shawn, we talked about it several times. It's people need to know.
Yeah, I'm not in this to prove anything. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. I'm just here for the people that have had to deal with stuff, and they're looking for an outlet or a place to go to talk about it, or, you know, just listening to our show or listening to shows like our show. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the main focus anyway.
That's the main focus. Absolutely.
And Aimee sure has a lot to. Holy God, you've gone through some shit.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just incredible. I love having Aimee. You're spectacular. You're, you know, and I think Shawn. You know, Shawn introduced us, and you know, I consider us one big happy family. You're both great, and you know, Aimee, thank you so much. I mean, you're just an amazing person, and
thank you.
You know, you really are. I know Shawn and I both appreciate, you know, you coming out here, because like I said, we both know this stuff is not easy to talk about. It's not.
Yeah.
Even what we've been through, you know, we both, like he said, we both had our experiences with the paranormal, the whatever you want to call it, the not so good kind of paranormal stuff, Sasquatch, stuff like that, and it's not pleasant, you know.
No.
It's really not. I'm not saying it's all unpleasant either, because there are good entities out there.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, it's a matter of deciphering which is which. You know, one just has to be careful, you know.
Yeah, there's boxes you don't want to open.
Well, yeah.
Exactly. Literally.
Kind of like the Sasquatch thing, man. You get these kids going out there banging on trees and
Oh.
whooping and yelling and shit.
No.
They're inviting trouble. You know?
They're inviting trouble.
They see when it's gonna, if it doesn't eat them, it's gonna scare the shit out of them, and
absolutely,
they're gonna be damaged for life.
Damaged for life. You don't know what you're saying to them when you're pounding on those trees, you know, and they know it's human.
They don't understand the magnitude. That's the problem.
Exactly.
They don't quite get it. And it sucks because you sit there even behind a keyboard and you're just like, you idiot, what are you doing? Like, just stop. And I see so many posts, you know, some in this group and then others in a couple other groups that I follow, and they're like, oh, I just, I came across this board, and I'm like, stop. Don't do it.
Absolutely.
Please. Like, don't even entertain it. Like, consider yourself lucky.
That's how my experience started, was with a board. The whole thing. We'll do that on another show.
Yes.
We won't get into it now, but I had a really terrifying experience with the board.
That's
I don't fuck with them.
No, me either. No. They're not something to be fucked with.
No.
That's actually we could leave off for tonight if you guys are down for that, and pick that up next time. Because I have something I can add to that as well. I have a friend that's having some problems right now, and my wife is trying to help him through it. And it started. Where do you think it started with him?
Yep. Do you remember
the famous board?
Do you remember me telling you? And I had no idea what was going on. Do you remember that?
No.
Not you, Shawn. But remember? I was like
several things.
Yeah, no, but do you remember? I was like, someone's doing something they're not supposed to, and they're very close to you, like your family.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I do. And I didn't put it together until just now. You were talking about him because you said you did say family, but he's so close to a friend, we consider him family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
but that's my point. It's just something's.
And you walk in, and I'll say one last thing. You walk into that house, and you're gonna know, and you know this, Shawn. You know this. One sign of one of the first steps of demonic infestation is the smell of rotting flesh. And you walk in there, and that is all you know. Yipper. We stopped, and he would not even let us in the house. I didn't want to go in the house. He came outside, and Stacy's like, it's pretty much got him where it wants him right now. And so we'll pick that up next time.
Okay.
There's way more. I'll fill you in on that. But
I've got 3 more pages left. If you guys want to do more,
we'll have you on three more times if we got it. I mean, it's great. You always have great stuff to offer.
Okay.
John, were you trying to say something, buddy?
Oh no, I'm still digesting half of this and all this. It's just
right. Yeah, same here.
There's a lot to chew on here and a lot to think about.
There is.
Yeah. If we're gonna wrap it up and do a part 2 and 3, I think that's cool. We should.
Yep, absolutely. And
I got to try and get some sleep because I got to get up early in the morning.
Yeah, same here.
Probably gonna have some wicked nightmares. Thanks, Aimee.
No. No, you're not.
I think we all might have. No, we'll be all right.
We'll be synced into one.
I'm gonna try to get up in the morning, maybe go on a little hunt. I don't know. We'll see. No, Aimee, you talking
no.
my 5 days
I was about
up?
to cut you off. No.
Is my 5 days up?
They're not up. No.
Okay. Well, let me know when they're up. Damn it.
I will smack the poop out of you if you
I
go
know
out
you
there.
will. You know what? When you and my wife both said something about it,
yes.
I said, okay, that did it for me right there. And Shawn, I'll tell you about that later.
All right.
Yeah. So, when 2 badass women in my life tell me not to enter the woods for 5 days, I think I'll choose to stay back out of the woods for 5 days.
Probably a good idea.
Exactly. But thank you, Aimee, so much.
No problem.
We appreciate it. Shawn, thank you as usual. Couldn't do this without you. My partner in crime. You can reach me at onthetrail.jf@gmail.com. And Shawn?
onthetrail.sw at gmail.com.
Perfect. And, if anyone, I know Aimee is, you have any questions you would like to pass along, you can just get a hold of me and Shawn. We'll get them to her.
Yeah, and these are going up on YouTube now too, aren't they?
Absolutely, right in the channel.
That's cool.
Yeah,
cool.
we got a lot. It's still on its baby stages. We got a lot of work to do on it, but yep.
So Podbean
basically,
and YouTube. That's
yep,
pretty cool.
exactly. And be expecting a lot more projects from our little family here. Me, Shawn, and the other guys. We got a lot coming everyone's way. So, and it's all to benefit the viewer out there. If any of you out there think we get rich doing this, you are highly mistaken. We do it to help y'all. So, and I know, Aimee, that's why you do this yourself. So, thank you.
Yes, sir. No, thank you.
All right, guys. You guys have a good evening. Shawn, Aimee, talk to you guys later.
All right. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
See ya.